Hi there, I'm Ciara Whelan and you're welcome once again to Ireland County by County, the programme which explores the sights and sounds, the places to visit, the culture and the food which our country has to offer. This time we're paying visit to a county where time moves at a slower pace. Known as a rural haven, I'm here in the northwest of Ireland to tap into the relaxing rhythm of life that touches everything, from its breathtaking mountains to the rambling River Shannon. The array of scenic spots here will put a smile on the face of anyone who visits. In the next 30 minutes, I'll be taking a leisurely cruise along the majestic River Shannon, learning about the amazing journey that one man took to restore the traditional practices of whisky making to the province of Connacht, having the crack at Cryan's pub as local musicians make this bar famous and a must-see for any visitor to Carrick on Shannon, catching my breath at the world-famous eco-retreat that has never failed to leave a guest happy and refreshed. All this amidst the spectacular scenery snuggled between mighty Eagles Rock down to the short, magnificent coast. Welcome to County Leitrim. I'm starting my journey around Leitrim in the county town of Carrick on Shannon. Though the smallest county town in Ireland, it's fair to say that its personality is one of the biggest. Sitting against the river, the atmosphere in Carrick on Shannon is a beautiful blend of people and nature. From being home to one of the oldest rowing clubs in all of Europe, to the town's gorgeous river loch, where lockkeepers manage the water levels for boats, everything intertwines with the other. To best get a sense of just how special this county is, you really do need to get off the land and onto the water. Carrick on Shannon is considered to be the home of Irish cruising, and it's not hard to see why. I'm here at Carrick Craft to meet with Skipper Pork, who's going to tell me all about it.
When you're coming back up here, you'll be actually taking that one.
Okay.
But we'll let you through this
I'll be taking that one?
I'll let you take that one.
Oh no. This is amazing, that view when you come
As you look in front of you here, there's your first green marker, there's the little bubble there. So we're staying to the right hand side of this. So because if somebody else comes up, they pass you on the left. Okay. So it's port to port, port is left.
Port, when you're talking inside my brain's going, I better take this in because I will have to drive this.
Well, I'll drive down there for you.
Okay. So people usually rent the boats for what, a week?
You can go the minimum of 3 days to anything after that, a week, 14 days, whatever.
And then every morning you wake up, you're somewhere new.
You're someplace new and there's nobody pushing you out of the place. You can stay as long as you want. It's not like your hotel room. You have to get up and go and gone.
No check-out.
Or no check-out, or come down for 10 o'clock for your breakfast or anything. You can lie in.
Yeah. It's really easy to see where you are actually.
It is. It's quite good. What some people do is bring a pencil and just tick off every place they're going. And you're determined by locks because of the water heights, different levels in the Shannon. So they're open every morning at 9 o'clock. But they close for their dinner from 1 to 2, and they close each night then at 8 o'clock. So you have to be at that, they close, no navigation at night. Okay. Everybody must be moored up between 6 and 8 o'clock at night.
And Pork, what do you think it is that people love so much about a holiday on the Shannon?
Everything just slows down, and everybody's so friendly to you. That's the most thing. Everybody says everybody's friendly, everybody's waving, chatting, and especially trying to moor up and park. People come over and help you. You're not left stranded.
Okay, so if you're,
novices,
for example, if you're really bad at parking,
somebody will help you. There's always someone there to help you and guide you. Just hold it out for a second, a little slightly back to your left. Now you're getting it.
Matching the quaint miniature size of this county town, Costello Chapel is nestled within Carrick on Shannon. Made by Edward Costello for his wife, it stands 16 foot by 12 foot and is one of the smallest chapels in the world. But don't consider the town to be sombre. A must-see for any visitor is Cryan's Bar. With nights of traditional Irish music as well as bluegrass sessions, its atmosphere has become renowned. John, that was absolutely magic. Incredible. I could listen to it all day. Question. Can you play or listen to music without tapping your foot?
It's always good to have some sort of a physical metronome, and a guitar player can do it easier, say, than a flute player can, because you're swinging your arm, whereas no, I don't think. If you're playing it without tapping your foot, you're really just waiting for somebody else to keep the time for you.
Carrick and Shannon is renowned for the crack, really. I love the fact that you can be relaxing on the Shannon, but you moor up and you're in here in 3 minutes.
Carrick and Shannon is a lively town in itself, and sort of a hub for County Leitrim, both for culture and for tourism and industry.
And Cryan's Chock meaning house and Kill meaning music house. This must be an amazing place to play.
This particular house here, Liam Cryan's Chock is a sort of an institution of music. Every town in every county has a couple of houses that there are music in, but this would be one of the big ones in the country. So everybody who's anybody in traditional music has played here in Carrick and Shannon and Cryan's. You could walk in the door here of an evening and see Sharon Shannon drinking a pint listening to Frankie Galvin playing in the corner. Anybody could be here.
It's phenomenal, really, how loved our music is all over the world.
It's really amazing the fact that we have our own culture from a very small part, and we're only a small amount of people in the world, and it's unbelievable how many people recognise traditional music as being the sort of halo of our culture and of our tradition. No matter where you go in the world, somebody knows an Irish band, Irish musicians. They recognise the buzz and the drive from Irish music, and they can sit down there any Saturday night during the summer, and there'll be Americans and Germans and Swedish people all sitting there, you know, entranced with Irish music.
Are they tapping their feet though?
It's infectious, as I say. Before the night is out, they're tapping their foot.
In 1749, when wealthy Englishman Nathaniel Clemens bought 10,000 acres of Leitrim land, he had dreams for a magnificent castle. Dying before his dream came true, his estate went to his second son and soon-to-be infamous Lord Sidney Clemens. Inheriting his father's land and taking the title Lord Leitrim, Sidney Clemens became a notoriously merciless landlord. And those working for him saw no better attitude, being forced to stand on a big stone under a tiny window to get paid. But no crime goes unpunished, and his cruelty caught up with him when he was assassinated on a trip home. Despite the grisly demise of Lord Leitrim, the castle stayed in the family and saw an extension of a brand new wing. Lockgreen, it's a lovely place to come and stay or to just sit by the fire, but this is no purpose-built hotel.
Well, the building itself was extended a couple of times. The original house here was quite small. The first Earl didn't live that long. The second Earl took over the estate, and he didn't have a family. There was some confusion as to who was next in line. So we ended up getting William Sidney Clemens, the third Earl of Leitrim, who possibly was one of the most infamous and notorious of the landlords.
And what made him so notorious?
He evicted at will. If he decided on something, he would see it through, regardless, even though sometimes he was wrong.
I don't know about you, but I've never sat in a fireplace before. Tell me about this.
The fireplace is as was. They brought over an Italian designer to put in all of this. And at some stage during the construction of the fireplace, they must have ran out of money, because there's a piece here over the fireplace here where he had just started to build, but the check must have bounced because he left it, and there's one little piece left and it was never finished.
It's not finished, but it's pretty nice.
Yeah, it might be a little bit OTT for the size of the room, but having said that, I didn't mind a bit of extravagance that time.
But Lockgreen also has another great attraction for visitors, falcons.
This is Odin. He's a male harrishawk. He comes from Arizona and Canada.
Arizona, is what
Arizona,
you're saying.
yeah. And he's the only bird of prey that hunts in a pack. Yeah, so I use him here at Lockgreen to entertain guests.
Tell me about the experience.
I just facilitate it. It's actually the guests that fly the bird. So it's very up close and personal, and even young people can do it, you know. It's a fantastic tool for educating them in the world of falconry and the way we used to live 4,000 years ago. When I was much younger, I would have loved to have been able to do something like this. So this experience isn't like where you do a show or something. This is fairly hands-on.
Darren, thank you so much, and Odin, thank you so much. It was a pleasure to meet you. You can't possibly come to Lockgreen Castle without taking in the views of Lockgreen. And sitting here in the Blue Room having an afternoon tea is a pretty perfect way to do it. While one of the smallest counties in Ireland, its influence is far-reaching. All the way across the globe in New Orleans in Louisiana, an Irish immigrant of the name Margaret Horry is immortalised with a statue and beloved. Arriving in America in the early 1800s, she worked at a local orphanage before setting up her own. Before her death in 1882, she opened 4 orphanages and was known throughout New Orleans as Our Margaret, or the Angel of the Delta. Her statue in Margaret's Place in New Orleans was the first publicly erected statue in honour of a woman in the United States. Her determination to help those in need despite war and disease is nothing if not inspiring. But the apple never falls far from the tree, and here in her hometown of Carrick, I'm here to talk with Helen Corcoran to find out more about her story. Helen, Margaret of New Orleans, an incredible woman with an incredible story, and it all starts here.
It all started here on Christmas Day in 1813, the day she was born, to her parents Margaret and William Gaffney. They lived here in this small little cottage on a very small farm.
But then they emigrated to America.
They emigrated in 1817 because in 1815 there was an eruption of a Tambora earthquake out in Indonesia. 1816 was known as a year without a summer. It was like a mini famine, so the family decided to emigrate to America.
And where does her story take us then?
In 1835 she married her husband Charles Horry, a man originally from Cork. They decided to move from Baltimore down to New Orleans. Unfortunately, shortly after him arriving, he died. Now, they had a little daughter, Frances, and shortly thereafter too, she died. So once again, Margaret, at the age of 23, was left on her own. She was, of course, heartbroken, and the priest, all she said to him was, "I just want to hold children in my arms." So she got involved with a Sister Regis who owned an orphanage, so she started to work there. She kind of advised them perhaps to get some cows, and so they got the cows and they started milking, and it wasn't long until they were making a profit from milking the cows and selling the milk. A lot of sadness was in her life, but I think that may have made her the strong, independent woman that she became, and an entrepreneur, and just worked totally to help others.
With such an incredibly diverse range of trees and plants, Leitrim has a growing reputation for being a perfect spot for foraging. With one willow species particular to only Leitrim, more and more people are spending their time among the woods to find their own free flavours to add to their dishes. Where better in Ireland is there to roam through the countryside rummaging for the freshest ingredients that nature can provide than here near Fowley's waterfall. Somewhere between the roots of the trees blooms wild garlic. Well, I got the boots on and can't wait to get foraging with local guide Tina Palmer. Tina, the landscape in Leitrim is really special, and you like getting up close and personal with it. Tell me all about what you do.
Well, I'm a foraging guide, and I bring private groups out for foraging, and I teach mushroom foraging in the Organic Centre. The landscape here it's very unique. It has so much to offer. One of the nicest things is that it's wonderfully wild and undeveloped. It gives you a feeling of discovery when you go and turn the next corner and you discover all these tiny little landscapes within the bigger landscape.
And what type of things are you foraging for?
Fruit and berries, and that would be blackberries mostly, wild strawberries, wild raspberries, blueberries, and then also, of course, hawberries. They are a little bit different. They come from the hawthorn tree, and there is actually an old saying that says, when all is gone, welcome haws. So the haws are there even when everything else is gone.
Now, I'm pretty confident I could find some berries, but I don't know anything about the pig nut. What is that?
It's a rather small little thing. This is one now. It's not the biggest one I ever found, but it's by far not the smallest one either. These belong to a small little plant that grows mostly in woodlands, and the root goes down maybe like 6-7 inches. It kinks to one side, and it's horrendously difficult to find these because they're very common, but when you start digging, they hide in the soil and you can't find them.
And what do you think it is that people like most when they come foraging with you?
Most of the time they just love the fact that you could step off a pathway and you're suddenly in this magical place where no one has been for a very long time, where everything is kind of for you to discover. And I think that is something that people really enjoy. And then on top of that, being able to just pick up something, like pick up one of these and say, what's this? And then be able to go, oh really? You know? And that's the best, I think. That's what they enjoy the best.
There are few places more suited to finding peace from harsh city life than here in Ard Nahu. Even the materials used in the construction of the house help guests enjoy their stay. From its sustainable cedar beams to hemp insulation, each detail here was designed and chosen to give cleaner air and lift further weight from urban living shoulders. There is so much to see in Leitrim, but something else that I'd really recommend that you do is absolutely nothing. I'm here at Ard Nahu Eco Retreat to chat to Nolene, who's going to tell you exactly what I mean. Nolene, the name Ard Nahu, where does that come from?
Ard is the Irish word for high, and Nahu is named after a lake that's underneath us. It's a turlock and it's called Loch Nahu, so we put Ard and Nahu together to get Ard Nahu.
Where did the idea come from originally?
I lived in San Francisco in the early 90s. I was working as a bartender and would be getting home at 3 in the morning. So I jump on my bike and go to this place called the Ascento, which was just in one of the beautiful wooden houses in San Francisco. You walk in the door and there was a hot tub, like in a room like this, in the floor. And sure, I used to spend my days there in recovery kind of thing. I just always thought, what a fantastic idea, like Dublin City could do with an Ascento. And I never did it in Dublin, but when I came here, that idea was with me.
And what does an average vacation look like here?
We get a real mix of very interesting people. You get a lot of single travellers, and it's the perfect kind of comfortable, safe place to come on your own. And we get writers, we get musicians coming who just want to be away and have, you know, finish that book or finish that song. When people are in nature, it's now known that there's an immune response to us being in nature. So you actually feel better by being here for a couple of days. If you stay longer, you're just totally immersing yourself in it.
I can imagine that after a week people must feel amazing. I feel so relaxed sitting here for 10 minutes, but I'm not going to leave just yet. Shall we go do a bit of meditation?
Let's go.
With its picturesque lakes, rivers and canals, the inland waterways of Leitrim are the perfect place to explore this unspoiled corner of the Irish countryside. You can also experience recent Irish history firsthand at the Glenview Folk Museum in Ballinamore. Another place not to miss is the birthplace of Sean McDiarmid, a leading figure in the Irish struggle for independence, who was executed in 1916 by Crown forces for his part in the Easter Rising. I'm travelling now along the picturesque Shannon Blueway. With a brilliantly beautiful walkway constructed over and along the river, it gives a unique perspective of the landscape around you. But the beauty here isn't restricted to hikers and bikers. All of Leitrim's stretch of the River Shannon is a paradise for any angler. With coarse fish like bream and perch to game fish like salmon and trout, fisher folk of all skill level can and will have fun here. I'm keen to talk to seasoned angler Shane O'Reilly. Shane, Leitrim's not short of activities, but fishing, how did you get into it?
Fishing tends not to be perceived as being active, but it's probably one of the most relaxing things that you could do. That's what attracts it to me, because sure, you can run around and you can go hill walking, etc, etc. What are you going to do when that's finished, except sit beside a river or a lake and do a bit of fishing? And this is a pretty nice place to fish too, isn't it? It's fantastic. No, it really is. When you look at Leitrim on the map and you see all the lakes and rivers in it, I mean, it's just full of them. So if you ever wanted somewhere to come and fish, Leitrim is one of those places. And tell me about where we are now. We're on Acres Lake here in Shambo. It's a small lake, but they've built some lovely access alongside it. There's a lovely boardwalk here with a few fishing stands, and it makes it really accessible if you want to come just for a few hours fishing. So you're not fishing to eat? Not today, I'm not catching to eat. Today we're fishing for coarse fish, so that could be bream, it could be roach, it could be rudder, it could be tench. We're fishing basically using a float and sweet corn as bait, which is an unusual bait, but that's particularly good for tench at this time of year. So it's just a normal tin of sweet corn.
There's no worms.
The maggots and the worms tend to put people off, but you don't need to. You can use rubber maggots, which you can use instead, you know, so you don't even have to get involved in the gory stuff.
I think I prefer the sweet corn. I suppose you're not really going to just sit here for a couple of hours, but when you have a fishing rod, that's exactly what you do.
When you're sitting here and you're looking at the birds and the swallows diving in the water, the ducks, etc., you know, you see a whole different thing. You see a whole different set of the wildlife than if you're just passing through.
PJ Rigney is the man we have to thank for bringing us many of our favourite drinks, among which is the internationally renowned and award-winning Shambo gunpowder gin. Ordering specially made gleaming copper pots and column stills, Rigney was adamant to brew using only traditional techniques. With authentic equipment, he could fine-tune his recipes of wild Irish grains. The province of Connacht went over 100 years without their own distillery, so whoever was going to open one needed to make sure they did it right. That person with his curious mind was Patrick Rigney, and I think you'll agree that his distillery, the Shed, is worth waiting for. Pat, this isn't exactly what I had in mind when I heard I was coming to see a shed in Shambo. How did you end up here?
We were looking for a place to build a distillery and create some remarkable brands that would be rural, that would be wild, and also would have a real sense of community, and that's how we ended up here in Shambo in County Leitrim.
You very much use traditional methods, but in a new way.
It really starts with creation, which is really bringing ideas back here, doing some initial creativity in terms of liquids and ideas. We have a remarkable team here who work with me to create some really remarkable brands that compete with the best that the world has to offer.
The visitor experience is amazing. What do people see when they come?
They'll come to see the home of Shambo Gunpowder Irish Gin, which is sold around the world. They'll get to experience how the brand is distilled. They'll get to go on a journey of the curious mind, and they'll get to also understand how we make whiskey here at the distillery, ending up in the beautiful glass house for a cocktail or in our cafe for some food. It's a day out, and hopefully one that they'll all enjoy.
What is your favourite product?
On a summer's day, Shambo Gunpowder Irish Gin is my favourite, maybe the citrus on a hot day, and then in the winter time it's certainly Shambo's single pot still Irish whiskey. We make it with oats. It's very unique, very special, and got awarded in the US the top 20 whiskey in the world in 2020 by Whiskey Advocate, so that's pretty cool for a new distillery.
I'm getting a cookery masterclass from Shambo, who specialises in combining exotic Asian ingredients with traditional Irish cuisine. So Sham, we're going full Irish but with an Asian twist.
Box is basically a potato pancake, and every household in Ireland will familiar with it, mainly in Leitrim will have it.
So how do you make it?
Right, okay, so basically I have a mashed potato, a bit of flour. You can adapt them into a gluten-free flour if you wanted to. You strain it off, the potato. So you don't want the water, you just want to take the starchiness out of it. Okay, so we just want the potato. It's a combination of a dish that I use good Irish history ingredient into it, and a bit of a scallop and a bit of Asian influence into it, you know? So that's that.
Okay, here we go. The taste test.
Enjoy.
Delicious.
Good, good, good.
Absolutely
Glad you enjoyed.
delicious.
Good. The taste of the fish and the box tea and the earthiness and everything all balanced together, you know. And still, again, the star is the scallop.
Perfect Irish food with an Asian twist. Thank you so much, Sam. I will see you in the cottage restaurant.
Too.
The best thing about a trip to County Leitrim is that it almost forces you to unwind and relax. I hope you've enjoyed our visit here as much as I have. Join us next time as we continue our journey around Ireland, county by county.
Ireland County by County is brought to you in part by Leitrim County Council, Leitrim Tourism, Ireland's Department of Foreign Affairs, the National Parks and Wildlife Services, Board Bia, the Irish Food Board, the Department of Housing, Local Government and Heritage.
CIE Tours, sharing the magic of Ireland for nearly 90 years.